So, hey everyone, happy Friday. Dan's here with us, Danny, and it's kind of funny. Usually, it's like junior would be Danny and senior would be Dan, but it seems to be the
Yeah.
opposite with you guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he goes by both.
Yeah, identity crisis. But
Yeah.
we have a few people watching. We'll wait for a couple more to trickle in to officially hit the intro.
So he's still working with you, isn't he? Or
Yeah, he's still doing a few things here and there. We like I would like to just have like a constant stream of things going on, of like stuff I could
yeah.
be. But I did a few videos for Dash here and there, and then I've been doing some videos for Zach Hub for the
Yeah.
Zcash little sub DAO thingy, and then we'll
Yeah.
see where else. But people have been really impressed with his work, and so
If you have questions about Zcash, you might want to ask him. He actually knows a little.
hmm yeah, it might be. Maybe I'll have him on the Zcash podcast at some time.
Yeah.
That might be
Yeah.
nice, you know. But yeah, it's been annoying using Zcash these days because of wallet syncing type things, and it is what it is. There's only so much I
Yeah.
can complain.
Yeah. Sinking is a bitch.
Yeah, of course. And that's the thing that with like I think we are talking earlier off air about the privacy coin, like
Yeah.
the way things are just popping out these days. It seems to be a next big thing type thing, and I think a lot of people don't realize because they don't use this actual tech that it's not production ready really. There's a lot of stuff that works well. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't work well, and like just the like anyone who's tried a coin join knows that it's just a big pain to like
Yeah.
wait for mixing, and then anyone who uses like the highest level stuff like the zero knowledge proof like Zcash stuff knows that like well the spam attack kind of show that there's a lot of scalability issues with this depending on how you fix it, and then the syncing issues, and then just like all this other stuff, and it seems like the sweet spot in the middle is like the Monero bulletproof ring signature approach right now. But even then, there's a bunch of issues. Whether it's, you can't respend your change right away because that can harm your privacy, or without, there's been a couple exploits here and there, and that just the different, just data structure. It's kind of like, I think that even if you're using the top privacy tech, you still have to be very careful how you do it to remain really anonymous. So I think this is going to be the next frontier that we have to really worry about in crypto. Is the whole
Yeah.
privacy thing. Yeah. How's the weather out there? It's probably a little brutal.
It, it's hot and a little bit hot,
Hmm.
and it's also hot.
Yeah, all of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah, it's been pretty hot here in the free state of New Hampshire this week.
Yeah.
I was in Florida right before then, and which people might see me posting beach pictures and stuff because I don't post them in real time because
Yeah.
Naomi freaked me out about that, about doxing your location.
Right.
But yeah, it's almost fall. I have a whole wood pile ready for the winter.
Yeah. I have a pretty big anon set for my location, so it's kind of hard for them to figure it out
Yes,
if I want to.
it's like, where are you at? Oh, which continent? Wow,
Yeah.
it's like saying you're in
Yeah.
Russia. It's just like
Right.
you can't even answer which continent you're on by knowing one would be in Russia. Clearly, you're not in Russia, but you know.
Yeah.
All right, so let me see. We got a few people watching here, a few people watching there, a few people watching the other place. Probably a good time to roll the intro graphic really quick.
All right.
Which, by the way, Dan did make that one for me, so thanks, Dan, for that.
Yeah.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go. So, hey everyone, happy Friday officially. This is the Digital Cash Rundown, episode 128. That means 128 weeks in a row, basically, been doing this. I'm joined by the one and only, well, maybe not the one and only Danny Sessom, but close enough, of the Crypto Show. How's it going, man?
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah, there is another one. There's another one. He's a
there's
junior.
another. But it's funny because you know, kind of ruined my usual thing that I say, the one and only, whatever. And it's the last couple weeks ago, I had Ryan Taylor on from Zcash, and I was saying like, oh hey, you know, the one and only Ryan Taylor. I'm like, well, not the one and only Ryan Taylor in crypto. There's another, but
Okay, thank
yeah,
God it's another one.
yeah, this fella's been, I think, like a 2010 era Bitcoiner, so like way back in the day, been involved with all
Yeah,
kinds of stuff. Really cool dude. Looks
yeah.
nothing like the other one, but other than that, other than you and Ryan have been the only ones who have kind of thrown the one and only thing off, and so yeah, that's been kind of funny. Let me just make sure I announce this thing here. So if you have, as per usual, if you have one of my NFTs, you can join the live super chat. I'm in the process of revamping everything else. I'll kind of cover that later. But I do have YouTube super chats on right now and Odyssey and stuff. So if you want to do that, I'll read that out. Otherwise, it's purely on a discretional basis. If you pay me, I have to read it. If you don't pay me, I can do whatever I want. Just the way it goes. So, all right. Well, let's jump into the actual stuff. So, let's talk about this mining centralization thing, which is quite an interesting topic, as I learned. So I'm putting up on the screen this tweet from Chris Bleck, which is quite an interesting name. But he said 50% of Bitcoin blocks are being mined by two KYC-only mining pools, Foundry and Antpool. The KYC mining trend is growing. This is a massive problem that we need to be talking more about. And yeah, so first off, your hot take on this statement.
Yeah, I think if everybody's channeled into mining pools, then what do we have? Like Bitcoin has what, 5 different people mining? If you just count the pools, because I mean, if there's some kind of consensus change, if I'm just hashing on that pool, what choice do I have? I mean, the miners are the ones. I mean, the mining pools are the only actual miner. So, yeah, what's the point? I mean, I enjoy what we're doing is we're using RandomX and for the project I'm working with. So it's pretty decentralized. Everybody's mining with CPUs, and we've got more nodes up than the sister coin that. Okay, I work with Hush, and that is a Zcash fork that uses Equihash. So they're on mining pools as well. And that being so, there's not as many nodes up. Now, we're a fork of them, and we're using RandomX. And so we've got, actually equally as many nodes as miners out there. So we've got more than double the nodes that Hush does, and we're a much smaller coin, just because of the mining decentralization and the way we've set the wallets up.
Yeah, it's a constantly kind of evolving problem, which I'm not sure how much Satoshi kind of envisioned that this would be kind of where it is. But as I opined on this, and this tweet got so much engagement, a lot of it from annoying nano people, but that's a different story. It just said, I'm starting to realize that proof of work crypto mining inevitably becomes easy to co-opt at scale. Not sure what the solution could be. And I guess it's good that I sort of put that out in a kind of open question kind of thing, because a lot of like mitigation things got sort of suggested in that thread. So, for example, this Monero Australia guy started chiming in about the stuff that Monero has been doing. Like, for example, this non-ASIC mining algorithm makes covert mining possible. P2 pool reduces the scaling advantage of centralized pools. Finally, stealth addressing eliminates censorship incentive for capture. So there's a few things to break down on that one. Well, first, of course, let's just go like the stealth address type thing or privacy type thing. So if you have privacy, good enough privacy going through mining pools to begin with, then then the biggest concern over taking over the network is censoring transactions, and it just becomes a lot harder to censor transactions, right?
Right. Well, I mean, Monero is every time someone gets close to an ASIC, they just change the algorithm a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But now we do have an ASIC miner for Monero, the X5. But I don't. It's not that much more advanced than a good CPU, actually. I mean, I think it makes it just a little more convenient than using your CPU. It's not that much more powerful where it's just going to, take over the network.
Yeah, and that's
And
the
if
thing.
it does, they just change, they just tweak the algorithm a little bit, and there you go.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's interesting is the ASIC versus non-ASIC thing is something that I feel like people have very different opinions on and haven't really talked to each other more directly. Like they made up their mind. Like I think a lot of people just say that like ASICs are bad. Now the thing is, ASICs definitely let, I guess, like industrial players. Like it definitely has like a centralization vector in that whoever does the R&D and then manufactures these specialized machines gets to have kind of a choke point as far as like who gets to mine, and that's not good. But on the other hand, it does make all the hash rate kind of, especially if you're at the top of your own algo, it makes it so they're invested in the ecosystem and they're not as likely to attack. So for example, if it's purely CPU mined, you could have CPU mining farms anywhere that have nothing to do, and they don't lose their equipment if they decide to completely nuke a chain. And so for my mind, I guess it's easier to attack, much easier in fact, I would say, to attack a non-ASIC chain, but especially by outside disinterested actors. But then also if it's an ASIC chain, then it kind of the economies of scale kind of make it so that just a few big players have a huge sway over the coin. So it's almost like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
Right. Yeah.
And regarding mining pools, of course, there's a few interesting things that were talked about, which with for example, P2 pool, which is something that Monero uses to. It's annoying from what I hear. I'm not a miner, but it's annoying to set up. A little bit more complicated, but basically lets you have mining pool style advantages as a single miner, to where it sounds like in Monero it's still more advantageous to be part of a pool, but not by nearly as much, to where it's actually, if you care about decentralization, you want to be a solo miner, you can do that. And so that kind of stuff makes it a lot better, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, you want to discourage the pool as much, encourage people to solo mine as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, we still might have a an issue where if a solo miner becomes as big as a pool, like gets like the third or a half the hash rate or whatever, and just because someone runs a mining farm and they just all do it like that, and then you can still run into those kinds of issues. But I don't know if you ever remember Kodak's from back in the day. He did some work on like the Spark or point of sale system for Dash and some other things. So he tweeted,
yeah, I remember the name.
Yeah, he's a really good dude. So he tweeted in response to this thing. He said Stratum V2 is a good start, and so he mentioned about it. It says it gives a miner the benefit of the pool, but removes the ability to censor or create empty blocks by the pool. Basically, all the small miners in the pool still propose blocks independently, help negate 51% attack, at least as orchestrated by a pool. And so, I mean, it sounds like almost like a too good to be true type thing, because I have to actually research this kind of stuff. So if anyone knows a lot about this kind of stuff, about Stratum and all that, hit me up, and I might have you on the show to talk about it. Danny, have you heard about Stratum before?
I've heard the name, but I haven't really looked into any of that. So I've been just doing so much traveling and
Mm-hmm.
working on all these, kind of activist type projects with Hush that
Yeah.
I haven't really paid much attention. There's so many coins out there I've never even heard of, and like,
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's kind of insane what's going on out there.
Yeah, I definitely think we've hit the point in crypto where it's impossible for anyone to be universally up on crypto, where it's just
Yeah,
now
for sure.
everyone's in a pocket somewhere.
Yeah. Well, of course, the next thing will be AI. Like, just attach the word AI to whatever token it is you have, and it's the next NFT or ICO is AI everything.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that's almost like I almost feel like the AI like rush is almost I wouldn't say over, but the era of saying AI where just like in the early days we could say on the blockchain, anything like
Yeah,
Dentacoin, all that stuff. Like that era is over, and I think for AI too, where you get to just say AI on the blockchain and then everyone will throw money at you. I think that's already over. So
right.
we'll see.
Yeah, I was at a talk the other night, and the guy was doing I don't know DNS naming and all this,
Hmm.
and I go, well, it's on the blockchain, and I'm like, well, why do you need a blockchain? But he had decent answers, so
Yeah, of course.
you know,
Yeah, it's fun stuff. But it's kind of funny, like the mining centralization. Just to sort of wrap up on that part. I
mm,
think it's really had a lot of this innovation, as we've noticed, trying to fix that has seemed to be like Monero, right? Because Bitcoin has been, and obviously I'm not talking about a lot of other like small projects that might be like 18th page on CoinMarketCap or something, which is not a diss. It's just saying like the
yeah,
attention share isn't quite there. But like Bitcoin seems to be pretty adamant at like not changing or like there's no problem, it's fine, everything's fine. And then the Bitcoin forks seem to be mostly not wanting to change anything significant either for similar reasons. And it seems like Monero's kind of, or then a lot of projects have been moving away from mining. Like for example, I know Zcash is considering, or it's all but decided a move to proof of stake, full on proof of stake, and
wait, what?
Zcash,
Zcash?
yeah,
They're moving to proof of stake?
yes, as far as I know, they've been doing research for like a couple years on this, and when I did the first episode of the Zcash podcast, was it last December, I believe?
Yeah.
It was Nate Wilcox from Electric Coin Company was talking about. That's something he's kind of spearheading. So yeah, so
Mhm.
Zcash is thinking of moving to proof of stake. Decred recently reduced the proof of stake. First off, they changed the algorithm, so they bricked the ASICs, and
Mhm.
they changed the percentage of the block reward going to mining to 1%, and it's almost all proof of stake now. So because they had an interesting situation, I don't know how up on this you were, but they had an interesting situation where they claimed to have found, again, I didn't double verify all these claims. I'm mostly taking their word for it and the stuff that I've read about it. But they found out that their miners, the Decred miners, were intentionally engaging in like price suppression of Decred. Like they were mining it, they were getting the coins, they had a giant bunch of coins, and then they would selectively dump at certain points in the market. And so basically it was like an existential crisis, and they just almost cut miners out entirely because of that, because they were acting in a mercenary kind of a way to, they probably had shorts open on Decred as they were mining it and using the newly mined coins to then just dump on it and like all this kind of stuff. So that was crazy. So they're basically gone away from it. I know Dash reduced the non-treasury portion of the mining reward to like 60-40 instead of 50-50 in favor of master nodes, and I think there might be some more on the way. It seems like a lot of projects are really moving. In Ethereum, obviously, was one of the largest proof of work coins and moved to proof of stake. It seems like everyone's kind of moving that way, except for old Bitcoin, which just doesn't do anything new. And I guess Monero is like the standard bearer of I would say, innovation in mining. Do you think
Well,
that's yeah?
there's a team that came out of Monero that is using a proof of stake consensus mining with Xano. Have you heard of
Mm,
Xano?
no, I haven't.
So they're using some sort of proof of stake, but I forget exactly how it works. He said it's not like you can't go stake your coins there, but they're using this staking model for their mining algorithm. I don't know enough about it to talk about it, but I
Mm,
know like these guys were the original guys who did Bytecoin and
oh,
all that. So
interesting.
yeah,
Back in the day, you know,
yeah,
that's a name I have not heard for a long time. Yeah. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, because it seems like proof of stake is just so much simpler to create a good security model, but that it
yeah.
just like has those centralization, especially early on in a coin's history, those centralization kind of issues. So I don't know. It's
Well,
yeah.
we have a project that is it's down in Mexico. It there's a paper currency that came into play about 13 years ago, and they were kind of rebelling against the peso, and it's called Tumen.
Mm,
So this is a paper currency, and we're creating a digital chain for them.
okay.
Um, they don't want to be on exchanges. They don't want to be manipulated by the market at all because it's one to one with the peso.
Mm-hmm.
So what we've done for them is pre-mined all of the coins and handed them over to them to distribute the way that they want to. And then we'll have a small tail emission that'll come out just to reward the miners
Mm-hmm.
to keep the chain up, which is like 0.001. So it's not very much at all. Like generating a few coins a day at the most. And that's what we're working on with them. And we have a mining algorithm that's called RAM hash, which only uses RAM, and it doesn't use a lot of CPU power at all, and it doesn't take much energy at all. So you know, they'll have 3 or 4 different people within their community that are mining just to keep the chain going. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. I went and got to be part of their event, and there was 150 different vendors.
Mm-hmm.
There's about 500 people there, all using Tumen. It was pretty interesting. They call themselves anarchists.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Had no idea. I seen it on YouTube, and I went down and found these people in Papantla, Veracruz,
Hmm.
and started learning more about it. And I was like, wow, this is cool stuff. So I ended up inviting the guy to be a speaker at Anarchapulco to talk about it. And then we offered him a chain. He's like, yeah, I'm like, why don't you have a digital version of this? And he's like, we don't know. We don't know how to do it. I'm like, all right, well, we're going to do it for you.
Yeah.
And the guys from Hush all volunteered to pitch in and help. And, my son is the one that's, you know, starting the chain and handling the wallets and, backing up their mining and doing all that stuff for them. So,
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating, and that's something that I've kind of liked about the crypto space is just the sheer amount of like tech innovation. But it's not just tech innovation; it's innovation and experimentation based on what people's base currency and store of value and unit of count is. And
right.
it's just kind of like everyone. It's like everyone eats, everyone sleeps, everyone goes to the bathroom, everyone reproduces. Not everyone, but whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
then everyone uses money, and it's the government kind of controls that, or in the systems that be, and it's just fascinating to see how just like anyone just say, look, you know what, we're gonna make our own money real quick, and then they're just like, you have something that I'm sure no one's ever heard of outside of this kind of group
Yeah.
transacting in such a way is pretty incredible.
It's really it was an interesting thing. What they did is this started in a university, and it was just kind of a class project, and then it kind of grew out into the city. And when the Bank of Mexico heard about it, they said, "Oh, no, 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 you can't be one-to-one with the peso. That's counterfeit." So they sued them, and to kind of protect themselves, they started researching the law, and they found that this exception in Article 2 of the Mexican Constitution that allows for indigenous economies and indigenous rule. So they used that to protect themselves, and they call themselves an indigenous currency, and that's how they were able to keep going. The way it works is if you want to become part of the Tumen community, you have to agree to accept 10% of any purchase in Tumen. So you receive 90% in pesos and then 10% in Tumen. So it works kind of like a reward point.
Okay.
And it keeps customers returning to you, and then it just builds the community. Some of the people that have been dealing with it longer, they will take 100% in Tumen for some of their goods, depending on how much money they have invested in it. Like, of course, if it's tacos or something where they have to buy the meat and the corn for the tortillas and all that, then they need to take pesos for part of it to do that. So a lot of the people to only take 10%, but there are some diehard people that will take 50, 100 or whatever. And it was just really interesting to see this go down and how they band together. And it's like they have their own monthly newsletter that goes out, and they talk shit about COVID. It's like, I like these people.
These seem like interesting people.
Yeah, these are my kind of people, and it was a great experience dealing with those people, and to be able to contribute to that and build them, a digital currency. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and especially being that it's a privacy, since they've already been attacked by the government. A privacy coin makes more sense than a transparent coin. So this, the coin that they are getting is Z to Z only.
Yeah. Well, let's touch on maybe some of the less in that direction kind of stuff with the whole Tether thing, right?
Yeah.
So, Tether is such a fascinating subject because most people in the crypto world, I feel like, kind of are a little untrusting of Tether, but a little disinterested. And then there's the Tether truther people, as they're called, I guess, who are just super think it's a huge scam and all this kind of stuff. And then there's the bizarrely, like, the Blockstream people who are super Tether apologists for no reason. It's a little weird. But anyway, so here they have, I think, from Paolo, the guy who runs Tether. He says, while Tether reached 72.5 billion exposure to U.S. Treasury bills, being the top 22 buyer globally, above the United Arab Emirates, Mexico, Australia, Spain. Tether is the most used stablecoin in the world with a huge focus on emerging markets, blah, blah, blah. But basically, yeah, Tether is a top 22 buyer of T-bills. And which is, without just going into like the whole, sketchy stuff about Tether, it does make them like a major, kind of like a major central bank, right? So,
right,
like a major player in the global ecosystem. And just move to this next tweet here from Gabriel Shapiro at Lex_node. It says, like it or not, Tether is a geopolitical power player just by this fact alone. Yeah. So I don't know if I have too much of a take on this. What's your take?
Will we be trading our CBDCs for Tether now, or what?
What if Tether is the CBDC?
Yeah, I think that's probably where it's going to be.
Yeah. That's been the funny thing about the whole stablecoin thing is increasingly, like, people have talked about, the CBDC, it's coming. And, like, ever since crypto came out and people are like, there's going to be this centralized one that only the governments use and issue. And it's just been like, since that point, there hasn't been a very clear idea of exactly what a CBDC will entail. It's just been like very conceptual, very general, like, it's gonna do this, it's gonna do that. And then there's been every government under the sun pretty much is like doing some CBDC pilot or something, and then it never works out. And eventually it almost seems like just putting pressure on stablecoin issuers is going to be just the way it goes, right? Like, I almost don't think there'll be a CBDC. I think the government will just kind of data harvest from, Tether and PayPal, PYUSD and USDC and all those, and just like, there you go.
Well, it's certainly not going to be a blockchain, right?
Mm-hmm.
A CBDC. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
not going to be a blockchain because,
Yeah.
imagine the spam attacks on that.
Yeah, of course. And I think Brazil's CBDC they were starting used a fork of Ethereum as their kind of way of doing it, but not Ethereum itself. And I could have sworn there was one country, was it South Korea, was considering doing their stablecoin on Ethereum itself, like not even starting a new network. And it would be kind of interesting to see because everything is programmable inside of, something like Ethereum. The problem is, of course, well, Ethereum kind of does everything you want. It's also just not scalable. So then, like, what are they going to do? Just do it on Ethereum and then Arbitrum as well. But then Arbitrum doesn't work out in the end. So then they go back to Polygon and there's ZK EVM and like, well, what about Optimism? And then like, it just, because of the fragmentation with all those L2s, who knows where it's going to go.
Yeah. Scary.
Yeah.
I don't use Tether at all. I kind of stay away from it. Even for Dragon X, the exchange that we were on for Safe Trade, I asked them not to pair with Tether. So we're paired with privacy coins and Bitcoin. I didn't for a while. I wouldn't even accept Bitcoin, but the community just kind of was pissed about it. So I went ahead and told them to take Bitcoin, but I'm going to resist Tether as long as possible.
Yeah, it's hard because I've done like some ad campaigns and some other things on behalf of some different companies and stuff. And in the crypto world, if like someone accepts payment, they always accept fiat, of course, because that's what it is. But then it's like usually fiat or Tether, or it's fiat or Tether or USDC, or sometimes it's fiat, Tether, USDC, or Bitcoin. Bitcoin's sometimes like the one that's added in there, but it's like there's very few crypto companies that just take crypto, which is a little sad, I guess. But the thing is, it's like, as far as I know, like, I don't know. I'd probably rather use Tether personally than like a bank,
Yeah.
At least I'm paying like some ETH validator some money by sending it around. But I don't know. It's kind of not a good spate of options there,
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have to use banks sometimes, except for some people.
Yeah. Not everyone.
Not everyone. I use mine as little as possible. I mean, I put just enough in it to pay whatever I need to pay, and other than that, I just stay either in crypto or cash.
Yeah, I mean, I think that especially if you have an easy cash option, I do think at that point it becomes really easy to live on crypto, right? If you do crypto and cash, I think it's easy. It's crypto and only crypto and no KYC services is super hard. And but only crypto and some KYC services, although just a few, is pretty easy. So it's just like, it's doable though,
Yeah, Coinbase makes it very easy for people, don't they?
Yeah. Well, if you're willing to go through their nightmare of a support system and all that, but
yeah.
not here to be picking on Coinbase today though.
Yeah. I had a card. Had a card, and somebody got a hold of the number, and they were, I don't know how that happened, but somebody was out there making transactions on my Coinbase card. So,
That's sad.
let's shut that off.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's touch on the whole Dash Evolution thing because, there's not that much new stuff. I mean, there's a release, right? But there's not.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting to to talk about it from like a retrospective thing as well. So basically, Dash Evolution finally is out on testnet, and
What's it been like 7, 8 years?
well, that's exactly where we're gonna get to the reminiscing part here, right? So
Yeah.
says Quantum Explorer. I don't know if you remember that fellow posted. He said, so there are bugs I mentioned before. There's a few features I'd really like to have before mainnet. But the question is if it could be launched in mainnet right now. Well, yes, it would work most likely. But other features and fixes are pretty important. So basically, technically, we could have Evo today, but it would probably be like a rickety old thing. So it's next few months, let's say, of bug fixes and things like that, and then we could finally have this thing. So as far as like the historical thing, because you got involved in Dash in the very early days, I guess. What year was that?
Oh, wow. Was it 2015 or 16? I mean,
Was it Dash yet, or was it still Darkcoin?
it was. It had just turned to Dash.
Okay, so
We were.
probably 2015.
Yeah, because we did the radio show out of Brave New Books, and I know John Bush says that he's the one that started taking Dash, but it's not true. I mean,
Yeah.
it was actually, Harlan was taking Darkcoin, and we were mining. He was mining Darkcoin there at the store. So, you know, yeah, since early on, he was pretty excited about it. The whole privacy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Which was just a coin join, but
yeah, just the good old days.
yeah.
But I remember Evan. Evan, I think that evolution became like a concept in some Bitcoin Amsterdam thing in late 2015. That's when he started talking about like this thing called Dash Evolution, all this other stuff.
Right.
So if you want to call, that's when it was conceptualized. Then what that's like coming up on 8 years here, if you want to talk about from conceptualization. And then he talked about, did a few little mock-ups here and there, and then where I kind of got involved in mid 2016, right? And then it was somewhere the next year, like middle of 2017 or so. There's some roadmap that was put out that said like summer 2018, and it's like, so I think that's the first actual like expected release date was summer 2018. So then you have what, 5 years later, 5.5 maybe. So from that, from my memory, that release date was sort of set by Evan. Evan just said, "Oh, we should be able to do this," and like no one involved in actually building it, would thought that was feasible. They're like, "What the hell are you talking about, Evan?" So it sounds like Evan kind of screwed him there, and then to get into like the bringing up old stuff kind of thing, but why not? Ryan Taylor at the time repeatedly sort of set, like, rather than just say, okay, look, Evan said this, we really have no idea when this is going to be out. That's what the devs tell me. Let's just put it on permanent, like, I wouldn't say hold, but like, we don't know. We'll let you know when we have a firm estimate. And rather than that, it would just kept on sort of like pushing back release dates and not really being upfront about the fact that, the end of 2018, the end of 2019, there wasn't really anything there yet. Instead of just saying like, oh, like, so people still thought a few months in advance that there could be a release in a few months. And then it's like, well, no, it's going to be many more years. And I think that's been something that is really, I guess, historically driven a lot of people from the project, right? Where people had these expectations. It's not that something cool to build takes time. It's that there's these expectations that's like, oh, it's right around the corner. And then it's just like kind of being lied to,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Ryan.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess I got along with him for a little bit, but yeah, I didn't. The first thing that really kind of made me not believe in him was the Alt 36 thing. That was because he was clearly pushing it as well. You know, I went to that party in Arizona, and they had the little ATM hiding in the thing. But well, hey, we're supposed to see this ATM. Turn it on. Oh, it's not working right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it was just this big, I don't know, shifty thing where they kept pushing that guy Ken Ramirez forward, and he wasn't doing anything. He was
Mm-hmm.
just taking millions of dollars and not giving. What
Yeah.
did they never produced a single thing?
Well, there's a lot I can't, there's a lot that's
Yeah,
not like public info on that stuff, but it does seem like they hit the big kind of combination of, well, you have a business that relies on having a banking partnerships of some kind, and
right,
you're in crypto and cannabis, and few banks will work with crypto, few will work with cannabis, none will work with both at the same time. And it just kind
right.
of ended up being like, oh, well, this was a lot harder than we thought, and just done. But yeah, the whole kind of delaying, kind of like not being upfront type thing. And I mean, I don't really speak GitHub, but people who do tell me that there's actual stuff in the Dash repo. There's actual people posting, making apps that work and do these kinds of things, doing data contracts. So, where I think it's going to be interesting is, I hate to say like something like this because everyone of course wants. I kind of like the come from behind position, not from heyo, but I kind of like
Yeah,
the the underdog position just because, not because it's like, oh yeah, I think we're gonna take it to number one type thing, but just because I think when you are in the underdog position, there's like a zero capacity for bullshit at that point forward. You can't
yeah.
make mistakes because you're already losing, and so I think that hopefully we'll see if this produces something kind of favorable and people kind of use it. One thing's for sure, I have not seen a single username contact list type scheme out there for any crypto that I've liked, and there clearly has been none that really took off. Do you know of any that are kind of your favorites, or have you really dealt with that very much?
I mean, like FIO on
Yeah.
Edge, but uh, that's the only one I've really used,
Mm-hmm.
and haven't used any of the other stuff. So, but yeah, I'd love to see it. I'm excited to see Dash do something. I'm like, uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think there's some of the greatest shit that I was ever able to do in crypto was done through Dash. Like
Mm-hmm.
the just the way everybody supported what we were able to do and gave me the chance to go and do that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing, man. I
Yeah.
know a lot of it got abused, but I mean that's going to happen. You know, I
Yeah.
know.
There's a lot of that like trailblazer kind of a thing where I think that unfortunately you don't get props for being the trailblazer, right? Like someone else just
Yeah,
takes your shit and then they just make
yeah,
money with it. But like the whole first major DAO or like earliest DAO or whatever, the law,
yeah.
I think that when we talk about the abuse, every crypto funding system has had abuses. And I
Well,
think that
anywhere there's value, there's somebody's. You know, the
yeah.
Nigerian prince is going to come in and try, try to take over.
Yeah.
So
There was a few of those too.
yeah,
But I I've been kind of thinking about it a lot, and this is actually I've been writing up some like 12-page like research report thing just for my own benefit over the last few weeks about this, using kind of Dash as a case study because, for example, I think that Bitcoin works phenomenally well on the surface, and then there's that one big, like, the whole reason why the DAO existed is the whole like capture of the dev team. And so then it's just like, all right, Dower, get the fuck out. Kind of, Dower GTFO is kind of the whole
yeah,
idea. And then, like, for example, Justin Bonds, who is the lead researcher or whatever for Cyber Capital, some hedge fund in the Netherlands, really good dude. He's a big voice of, I guess, reason in crypto Twitter. But
hmm,
he's big into, like, if it doesn't have explicit on-chain governance, it's just not going to work out long term. And his fund won't invest in something, as far as I know, that doesn't have some kind of explicit governance thing. And I kind of agree with him, but on the other side of the thing, we've both been through the whole Dash gamut over so many years, and
Right.
I think that it works, but I think it's incredibly inefficient. Like there's a lot of wasted money. And
Yeah.
that's the part I hope, like, Bitcoin, I think, is efficient, right? Because there's no money. And so anyone who does anything on Bitcoin has to have a profit model. They have to have a business that works. And so that's the only way it works. The problem is then the network becomes the profit model of one company, Blockstream, for example, and then you
Yeah.
have a problem. So that's the thing. I'm trying to figure out how do we solve both problems, because we solve one and then create a whole host of new problems. And so
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of
Yeah.
thinking about that.
Yeah. I don't know. Uh, it seems to be working better for Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the thing is, I think if Bitcoin was in Dash's place, I don't know if it would have worked better, with like Bitcoin's luxury of not really innovating too much over the years. I don't think that's I think that that's a Bitcoin only kind of a luxury. And as everyone said, like, oh, if we were number one, it would blah blah blah. Okay, but you're not. So, oh, also it's pretty clear, I think, that no one's using crypto for the most part, as far as on the grand global scheme of things. And so it's not like Bitcoin's number one position isn't even that big of a position.
Mhm. Yeah. Store of value, kind of.
Yeah. Let's hope the number keeps going up. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't
but
know. Hopefully, we'll get at least one more good bull run out of it.
yeah, absolutely. It's so what I think, just to sort of like wrap up the evolution point. Um, I think, from what I'm told, I guess the advantage of evolution, obviously, the first application is going to be the Dash Pay wallet, which just
Right.
username contact list, just making payments easier. But
Right.
the platform itself, so the data contract platform, I guess the value proposition of that is you can make decentralized applications without having to learn how to code Solidity, and much cheaper and more lightweight. So you can like write your thing in like JavaScript or whatever else you're writing, or whatever app you do, and just sort of plug into that. And so I guess that's really what remains to be seen, right? Does this thing work, and will people actually like use it? And
Well,
what
off of the
will they build on it?
off the top of your head, what are some of the things that you would build with it? Like, can I build a DEX on it? What can I do with evolution other than have fancy names?
Yeah. So from first of all, stuff like a Dex and stuff, from my knowledge, or at least an AMM Dex type thing, something that works really smoothly like that, would need programmability, which is not coming out right away. Although I have heard in the last year, I guess, some of the developers have said, yeah, in order for us to be super competitive long term, we're going to need like smart contract functionality as well as
Right.
this. And so that hopefully might happen in the next year. So anyway, but just having what we have now, it seems like the comparative advantage is the ability to cheaply or by crypto terms at least, cheaply and easily store data and verifiably query that data and kind of access and write to it. And so, for example, something like a Yelp or a merchant directory or something, where just like all the business information, where you can just take a front end, you don't have to run all this centralized database back end. You can have your own front end, and it runs on Evo, right? And you can just
Uh-huh.
write to it in a decentralized way. You don't need computation for that. You don't need to be running a smart contract that auto generates stuff. You just write to it, right? And
Yeah.
then same thing as like a Twitter, right? A decentralized Twitter clone, where each username can tip each other's username with crypto, obviously easily. And every time you click update profile picture, that sends a state transition on the network that then just updates your data associated to your profile on the network. And so if Twitter just bans you, you still have all your contacts, you still have all your tweet history. It's all still stored on in the actual Dash network and everything. And someone else can just make uncensored Twitter, and you just log right into that, and all your stuff is still back. So stuff like that seems to be what it's optimized for. And so Yeah, that'll be fun to see some people start to like build stuff off of that.
I need a merchant map. Tuman needs a merchant map. That's one of the things they're hoping to get at some point, and not even within the wallet, just to have a merchant map, because it occurs in 6 regions. So there's 3,000 users all over Mexico, and so there's different regions where it's prevalent at. That's something that we're looking for is a merchant map.
Yeah, that's something that merchant maps are one of the biggest, I would say, disappointments or annoyances in crypto, because otherwise, like, it's in all my years of using crypto, I think it's easier today than it's ever been. That being said, I'm more than ever before, I'm using an intermediary where I buy a gift card or something like that instead of
Right.
actually, instead of actually spending it directly at the merchant, although I still do that too. And part of that is
Right.
just because no one knows where they can spend their crypto, because it's like all
Yeah.
these merchant maps suck, and then one goes away and then you start building up another one, and like the other one doesn't work out, and it gets pretty crazy. So
Yeah.
what
That's why Airbits got rid of it, because it was such a pain in the ass for them to keep up with. Because as soon as they would update a new merchant, another one would drop off, and they had more complaints about people going to places that didn't actually take crypto, that said they took crypto, and that was the main reason why Paul got rid of the merchant map on Airbits.
Yeah, and so I think that having a unified, decentralized place to store all this data would be very important, because then if the merchant map goes away, all that data is still there and someone else can just plug back into that and add to it. And then it's just like the Bitcoin Cash only people, they love their maps. The problem is who's going to
Right.
go, only their 5 people that use that are going to be on their map. But then, like, what if they could just do a front end that's just a filter that looks into
Yeah.
the Dash network and looks at and they just only the ones with the Bitcoin Cash tag will it display, and then stuff like that would just really help out. Another one, Michael.
It would be nice if
Yeah.
if the merchant, if every time the merchant accepted a payment, that it updated when the last payment happened, so that when you did open a merchant map and you've seen, oh, okay, there hasn't been a payment since 2017. I'm
Yeah.
probably not going to go there.
And that's a thing that AnyPay had for a while. They had a merchant map that, because they controlled like whoever used their point of sale system, they got to see who got a payment. They would actually show that, and then they just got rid of it because they moved on to different things, unfortunately. But if you
Yeah.
had like an Evolution username associated with each merchant, then you could just say which one has had a payment go through this username recently, and then you could kind of see it. And like that's something that's good.
Yeah.
In the comments, Michael Cluster mentioned a encrypted messenger, and this is the stuff where it starts to get cool, because imagine like Signal, right? And
Yeah.
there was a couple years ago, in I guess an earlier version of Evolution, someone was making an encrypted messenger product, and I don't know where that is today, but
We have one.
yeah.
We have one in Hush and DragonX both have encrypted messengers. It's basically bit message, but there's an extra layer of encryption within the message as well. So we're using Signal's technology. Only it's not linked to a phone number. It's linked to a Z address.
Yeah. So something very similar to that, but then imagine all the messages are all on the Evolution part, on the Evolution data structure, and not on like a UTXO, like a payment chain thing. But the bigger
Right.
thing that I like is, I think that like there's a huge market for usernames through like ENS makes a bunch of money, Unstoppable Domains makes
Yeah.
a bunch of money. So the real solution isn't just to be like, we're going to send Dash to Dash users. Part of it is we're going to have a username that's run on the Dash network that pays, I guess, gas fees through Dash to register, but is for all your crypto. So if you have like a signal that lets you send Bitcoin to someone, lets you send Zcash to someone, send a Monero, whatever, and it's all run under like a Dash username contact list scheme that like literally if your phone gets dropped in the toilet or broken by the feds or whatever, you just put in your recovery phrase, and then it just gets not only all your money back, but your username and all your contacts and all the data you interacted with those contacts. It's all just there. And so that's something I think could be a really cool killer app, because I haven't seen that yet outside of, I haven't seen that anywhere yet. So, if you're watching and you want to build something like this, I would be your happiest.
Is that not a honeypot?
I mean, if you consider the entire network to be a honeypot, then yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But, who knows how much, who knows how you'd store the encrypted data in evolution. Like, I don't know the particulars of that. Like, could you make sure that everything is end-to-end encrypted between users, and so that even though it's on a public blockchain, the actual data is encrypted, so you can't, no one can see it. That would be great. But yeah,
that would be great for your transparent coins, but for your privacy coins, maybe not so much.
Yeah, maybe. Well, there's a giant, I guess there's a storm warning. There's a giant storm going through. So if the internet cuts out and this thing goes dark, just so you know. Before we wrap up on that, I did get a NFT super chat from Hilawi. Hi, Hilawi.
Hey.
Says, let's not forget that Alt36 was allowed to pitch to the Master Network with Ryan Taylor's blessing for startup funds when they were struggling the entire time. Also, they loved being conference party folks. Yeah, I remember that too. It was kind of one of the few. That was a big point of contention in the old Dashcore group. This was a proposal that was offered, I guess, extra blessing / protection from Dashcore group, but then didn't have the same accountability. So it's like, well, Dashcore group gets,
like, if you showed up, I mean, if you questioned them or showed up at their office or whatever, I think one of the Dashwatch guys went to their office and
I remember that.
And Ryan told that dude, "Hey, you stop going to their office. You can't go." Like, what? And I went to their office too, and there was no office there. And then they said, "Oh, well, we're not there anymore. We're in Mesa now."
Yeah.
So
it was interesting because it was an independent proposal on the Dash network that when it came to like, should we give them funding or not, there was sort of this Dashcore group was sort of vouching for them and covering for them in a certain way. But then when you ask Dashcore groups, okay, well then, in which case, how are they doing? What's the progress? Then they just said, well, no, just ask them. And it was kind of like a one-way glass type thing, one-way mirror, where in one direction it worked one way, and the other one it was the other direction. And I'm just glad that whole thing is, the whole chapter is behind us.
Yeah. Too bad. I mean, it was a perfect use case, and it would have been great.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people that were interested in it. I mean, I went around and went to dispensaries and, made contact with them. And, the dispensaries were like, hey, where's our thing? And I handed over all of my contacts. I handed over copies of the contacts to Alt36. And then I went back and contacted all of them. And they're like, yeah, no one ever contacted us. Mm-hmm. So all of the contacts that I made on that trip, they were never contacted.
Well, earlier last year, I believe it was, that Ryan Taylor resigned from Dashcore Group, and he, I believe, was going to retire. He had been planning retirement for quite some time, but there was, some drama that, again, on this podcast, if you just look under the streams tab on YouTube or wherever, that's probably the easiest way to get to it. If you scroll all the way down to the last time you see Ryan Taylor, not the Zcash guy, but the Dash guy, he came on and talked for a few hours about stuff. And not too long after that, he was pressured into resigning earlier than he had anticipated. And I don't know if you heard that thunder over there, but
yeah,
being crazy. But so that's just kind of it. Let me just real quick give a freebie, I guess, shout out. Pete Air is in the chat, live chat. Hey, Pete.
Woohoo!
We've known Pete for a very long time. I've actually known Pete for like, what is it? 15, 16 years. It's been a long time
Yeah,
since the since the DC days. But he just
right.
says, just wanted to say hello to Danny, and he said I remember going to an L36 launch party in Arizona, where they just happened to be in the area at the time, where they had a
Yep.
demo reel on a loop, no product that could be used in real time, and he says, as Sven noted on one of your previous shows, Ryan is still involved as an advisor to the diff. I think it's good. He has a lot of institutional knowledge. Yeah, and it's and like I get that. Obviously, you're not the biggest fan of Ryan, and as
Yeah.
the head of the core team, he didn't really end up working out in the end. But I do think he had some interesting knowledge and insights, and I don't know. Let's hope he. I'm glad to hear he's still involved in some way, but the Dash development direction has been extremely like it's been night and day difference almost since that
Yeah.
time. And so, for better for worse, I personally think for better, that's the way it is. So last thing I'll just say before we do the wrap up shill-o'clock kind of thingy, because I look at the time. Oh shit, it's about shill-o'clock almost. So let me start off shill-o'clock for my stuff. So
Okay.
starting next week, I'm gonna have premium memberships on this channel where I'm gonna do some like members only content for people who want to learn like in-depth tips on living on crypto, stuff like that. And so if you want to throw me some bones, people have already had access to some of this kind of stuff through buying one of my NFTs. So if you want to do through crypto only, that's that. But for the people who are still in the fiat system, you could do that through YouTube or through Odyssey right now. And I'm trying to get Twitter to let me do it through Twitter. So hopefully, I can just run this whole thing and everything's great. So now it's shill-o'clock for you, Danny. What do you got to show?
Um, well, the travel channel. So I've been doing a travel channel, and I kind of weave some of the crypto stuff and the activism stuff into that.
Mm-hmm.
It's called ANRV Moto, or ANRV Adventure is the title of the channel, but the little short name is at ANRV Moto. And there's some pretty interesting stuff that happened around Mexico. I drove through the cartel war and all that when they captured El Chapo. So
Mm-hmm.
there was some pretty intense stuff on that. Dealing with the
Mm-hmm.
Tumen community, and it's pretty interesting. I'm working kind of as marketing and just bringing up new ideas and stuff for Hush. Uh, it's hush.is. And what we have there is a platform like Komodo where you can just, one button and start your own chain. We're finishing up the final, tweaks to that. Dan, my son is making that. Right now, you would have to go to the GitHub and download the code and all that to start your own chain. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how we started DragonX, which is dragonx.is. Anyway, yeah, we're trying to make it to where you just go and you pick your block time, pick your, what algorithm you want. We've got 3 separate algorithms that you can choose from, and then you're a Z to Z only Zcash fork chain, and just add your own parameters and off to the races.
Sounds good. All right. Plenty more rolling thunder crashing through here, so I got to wrap this up now before everything goes kaboom. But yeah, thanks for being on. Everyone,
Yeah,
thanks for watching.
it's
Lots of.
good to hear that. Yeah, it's really good to hear that Dash is doing. All, they've got all this stuff out. I've been rooting for them. They have the number one thing that you can have for crypto, and it's community.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Um, Obviously, I'm rooting for Dash because it's still what I use for like 80 to 90% of my transactions on a day-to-day basis. But I'm very much, especially rooting for Dash to succeed, or the things that Dash has built and learned to be absorbed into a project that does succeed. And
Yeah,
so, I think I'm watching, right? Anyone else who does a better DAO system, does a better like transaction system, has that username set up, has like all that kind of stuff. I'm keeping an eye on it everywhere, and it's just like people who are coin maxis, which, you know, I used to be more focused on specific coins like Dash and stuff,
Yeah.
but they get really attached into specific names and things like that. And
Yeah.
I like to just put out. I've kind of switched my mentality to where I build and work on good things and throw them out there, and then see which seeds
Yeah.
germinate and plant, and just go there. So right now, there's still a lot of good stuff going on Dash, but like, I'm involved with Zcash too, because I think Zcash has some fantastic privacy tech, and is Zcash going to win out? And then I don't know. And so we'll see what wins out. But I'm kind of shining lights on and helping grow everything that's awesome, no matter where it is. So that's kind of where it's at.
Yeah, well, like with Hush, it's the opposite of the maxi stuff. They want that's why they have this, you know, create your own coin ideas. So because we need more, we don't need less. If you want, you know, obfuscation, let's have more coins. You know, have a wider net.
Yeah.
You know, it's whack-a-mole.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks very much for joining, Dan. It's been great catching up.
All right, man.
I'll hopefully see you at a conference or something sometime, but if not, I'll have you on again.
Yeah.
It's been a great show.
I've got Anarchapulco in February, so I'm scheduling the crypto stage on that. So.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yep.
All right, cool. Everyone, thanks
for
watching.
Have a good one, man.
See you next week. Bye-bye, guys.